Good morning. My name is Kay Williams, and I'm a lead program manager on the Outlook team. Today I'll be talking with you about a new product, Outlook 10. This is a product coming out with the release of Office 10. The official branding will be Office 2002, and it will be coming out toward the end of the first half of the year 2001. Outlook 10 is a product that will give users the new freedom to roam and will also address many of the existing customer requests and provide answers to many customer wishes. What's new in Outlook 10? As I mentioned, we've addressed many of the requests that we've heard from customers, both requests that come in off of our support line and also email that we get through our top wishes aliases, as well as information that's come into us from account managers at Microsoft as they work with our customers. Areas where we've made improvements include account management, email, and calendaring. Another area where we've made major investments in this version of Outlook are in freedom to roam or mobility enhancements. So we've worked very closely with the Exchange 2000 team, and in conjunction with Exchange 2000 plus a new product, the local store, the local web store, we now have seamless roaming capabilities both for messaging and for applications. We've enhanced our international support, providing full support for Unicode, and we've done some work to make the Outlook product more secure against email viruses. In the area of account management, the two biggest requests that we've received commonly are to eliminate modes. We currently differentiate between Internet mode and corporate workgroup mode. And the new product will eliminate that, leaving a single mode. We've also simplified our account management UI so that it's easier for end users to make choices without understanding the detail, basically the implementation details of Outlook and Exchange. We've added support for Hotmail, and we've also improved our administration. And in fact, we've made it easy to use a single tool, the Office Custom Installation Wizard, to create and maintain user profiles. I mentioned that we've eliminated the dual modes from the Outlook 98 and Outlook 2000 products. This made it difficult. What we heard from our support organization is that customers would often choose the wrong mode because they weren't paying attention when they set up the product initially. And once they got into the wrong mode, it was difficult to get back. So this is the dialogue where customers had trouble, and we're eliminating this dialogue. There's no upfront choice. And all the features that were available only in Internet mode previously, such as support for IMAP, the ability to send using a different account, those features have been wrapped into the new unified mode. In the area of account administration, we're now using the Office Custom Installation Wizard for all profile creation and modification. This eliminates the need for two additional tools, the New Prof tool and the Mod Prof tool. Now using the Custom Installation Wizard, you can create new accounts and you can modify existing accounts. Some of the areas where, in addition to allowing creation and modification using the Custom Installation Wizard, we've also provided administrative control over more of the functionality of Outlook. So in particular, we've added support for adding and removing services from existing profiles. As an example, let's say an organization had previously been using CCmail as the server, and now they're migrating to Exchange. Using the Custom Installation Wizard, you can specify that the previous provider was the CCmail provider, and now the provider will be Exchange. And as soon as the user boots Outlook the next time, after that information has been pushed down, using the Windows 2000 group policy settings, the next time the user logs on, that change will automatically occur in their profile, and they'll be set up as expected. Other areas where we allow administrative control, including migrating from an OST, our previous offline store file format, to the new local store format. And we also allow migration from the legacy Outlook PAB address book type to the new Outlook address book. So let's take a look at creating and using accounts with Outlook 2000. So here I am in Outlook 2000. The first thing that we'll do is set up a new account in my existing profile. And the way that is done now is from an item off the menu, Tools, Email Accounts. This replaces the previous Tool Service dialog. And you'll see that it has a very simple, friendly user interface. So I want to add a new email account. And in fact, I'm going to add an HTTP type account, specifically a Hotmail account. Okay. Darn, I typed my email address wrong. And this I should say this product is still in beta mode, so sometimes things happen that we don't expect. And in fact, I appear to be hung right now. Let me try getting out of here and coming back. So while Outlook is booting, I can mention that we support adding multiple, or we support having multiple accounts in the same profile. And Hotmail is the one that I'll add now. And but users can also add POP accounts and IMAP accounts all to the same profile and view those at once in Outlook. And once that is done, it's also possible from the new mail message to be able to choose which account you'd like to use. Outlook is okay, let's try this again. Let's remove the Hotmail account I created erroneously. Now Outlook is going out and communicating with Hotmail, getting the information to add that service to my account. And in just a moment, it should come back with the Hotmail account. Wouldn't you know it? It worked fine earlier, and it's not working right now. Again, I seem to be hung. So let's move on and talk about some of the other features. Okay, so another area that we've made improvements is in the area of email. And some of these improvements cover word mail. So in fact, in word mail, we've improved some of the concerns that we've heard about word mail have been in the area of improving the performance, reducing the message size that gets sent over the wire, and also in improving the stability. And those are all areas that have been addressed in the Outlook 10 product. So the improved stability, in fact, the way that we've done that is now Outlook and Word no longer run in the same process. And what that supports is that if one of the applications goes down, it doesn't take the other one with it. So if you're writing a mail message and Outlook goes down, or you're writing a document and Outlook goes down, Word is still up, you can continue writing. And the same if Outlook goes down and you're creating a mail message, you can save that mail message separately before you continue on with your work. We've made it easier to address email using a new feature called autocomplete. Some of you may be familiar with this from the Outlook Express product. Find is one of the most common activities that users do during the day with email messages, and we've made enhancements there. We've made it easier to read plain text messages by automatically cleaning up extraneous paragraph marks that used to cause it to be hard to read on the screen, and also when printed you'd get jagged line breaks. One of the areas that customers, that we get much feedback from customers in is in the area of mailbox size management. And so we've done some work to make it easier to manage mailbox sizes. In particular, now in Exchange, when a user hits their mailbox size limit, a dialog will appear, I'll show you that in a minute, that lets them choose to delete all messages from the, instead of just getting a message that says the mailbox is full, now users will have the choice to look for all messages over a certain size, or to look for all messages, to find all messages over a certain age, or to delete items from the deleted items folder, or to provide an auto archive. Other small enhancements we've made to make it easier to manage mailbox size include we've added the size column to the default view in the inbox, and we've also changed our attachment behavior so that when an attachment is added to a mail message, the attachment size is automatically displayed. And that helps prevent cases where someone made a simple change to an Excel spreadsheet. Let's say they formatted way too much and that ballooned the size of the spreadsheet, so they had no idea they were sending a big file. Seeing the attachment size there next to the attachment will give them a chance to modify that before sending. One of our favorite enhancements in the product team is that we've added a cancel button to the dialog that comes up that says that your Exchange server is not available. That dialog previously had 3 buttons: the work offline, retry, or help, and often what you want is cancel. So let's take a look at some email enhancements. Here we are again in Outlook. And once it comes back to life, It's behaving badly now that the Hotmail account didn't work for me. Okay, here we are. Okay, so now let's take a look at some of the enhancements that we've made in messaging. And one of the first things that I'll show you is the new WordMail product. And let's take a message that I already have, and let's forward that along to someone else. So you'll notice that this message that I'm looking at has some rich formatting. Not a tremendous amount, but it uses some color and some fonts inside of it to get a message across. One of the features that was supported in that internet mode that I mentioned to you was the ability to, on the fly, change the format of the message that's being sent. So this message is in HTML format. I can see that on the toolbar here. Let's say that I'm sending this message to someone who is on a pager, and in that case I know that they're not going to be able to see the format, the rich formatting that's available in HTML. I can easily switch that to plain text from the toolbar, and it automatically changes inside of the mail message. And once I'm working in plain text format, then Word behaves accordingly and changes the toolbars, which prevents me from putting in formatting that's not appropriate for that mail type. It's also possible, in fact, to set plain text as the default file format along with WordMail, and that's another way to continue to streamline the file size. When I'm in plain text format, another common complaint that we heard about WordMail is that it was too smart. So as you typed things like bullets, it would automatically turn those into bullets, which might not be appropriate in some messages. Again, Word is smart and it knows when I'm in plain text format and it doesn't turn things into bullets. But if I switch it back to a format that does support that, and then continue, then it should be automatically creating bullets. Wow, this is going to go down as one of my demos that things really weren't working well. Okay, let's continue on. So that's WordMail. We'll skip back out of here now, and let's take a look at the ability to remove at the new feature in Outlook that automatically removes extra carriage returns from plain text messages. So here's an email message that is a plain text message, and it has extra line breaks inside of it. You can see that here because the lines don't wrap all the way across the screen. And what happens if you're reading it and you have a small window size is that it becomes difficult to read. And some messages, when you print them, automatically print that way. So Outlook notices when messages have extra line breaks in them, and it provides functionality from the tooltip bar to remove those line breaks. So I can do that now by just clicking, and then the text will automatically scroll with the window. And when it prints out, it will print out without those carriage returns either. So, and I can change that back and forth simply by clicking on the toolbar. Another enhancement that we've made for email is the new Find feature. So in the previous product, when I chose Find, a window would appear that took up roughly a quarter of the view size. We've made that window smaller and lighter weight, so when I click Find, you'll notice that a very small strip appears that is the Find strip. And the reason for having it be small is that it can be left up all the time, which makes it very convenient to search for items in mail folders. Another enhancement that we've made is that we've made it possible right from this strip to be able to search for more than just the folder that I'm currently looking at. So in fact, I can look for an item in all mail folders, in mail I received, mail that was sent to me, or mail I sent, mail that I sent out. Or I can choose a folder and specify any particular folder that I want to search in. The most convenient of these is to choose all mail folders and just find, and it will do a quick search across all of the folders. We've also made the find feature cancelable, which is an enhancement from the previous version, and it's also asynchronous. So as an item appears that is the item that I want, I can go ahead and open that one, and the find will keep working in the background, or I can cancel it and just work with the message that I wanted. I mentioned the new mailbox cleanup utility. That comes up automatically when I've reached my mailbox limit, size limit, or I can access that from the menu under Tools, Mailbox Cleanup. So here's the dialog that will let me search for items over a certain age. The default is 90, but I can change that, or items over a certain size, or I can auto-archive or delete empty items. It's a convenience feature for something that many customers spend quite a bit of time doing. And especially the alternative to finding old or large messages was to go to the advanced find dialog and specify some custom settings, which is more than many basic users are capable of doing. So those are the main enhancements in the email side of Outlook. Let's talk about the calendaring enhancements. So calendaring is an area where we made substantial investments in addressing top customer wishes. 3 of the wishes that we've heard most often are for the capability to view multiple calendars in the same window. And this is a feature we call group schedules. We've also added support for calendar coloring, and we've added support for proposing a new time. So the scenario is that someone has sent me a meeting request, and the time that they suggested doesn't work for me. I can now quickly look at their schedule and mine together and suggest another time that works for both of us. That also works for groups, and I'll show that to you in a minute. We've added support, we've enhanced existing support for Internet Free Busy. In Outlook 2000, we added a feature that allowed users to publish their FreeBusy information to an FTP or HTTP server of their choice. So it needed to be a server that they had control over and access to. The enhancement that we've made in Outlook 10 is that we provide a server for users to store their FreeBusy information on, and we secure that using Microsoft Passport. Any user can specify other users who should have visibility to their FreeBusy information, and as long as those users have a Passport account, they'll be able to see FreeBusy for other users right from their meeting planning window. We've also consolidated the individual reminder windows into a single reminder window. So what used to happen is that, let's say someone was on vacation for a couple of weeks. When they came back, they'd see reminder windows cascading across their screen from the top right down to the or top left down to the bottom right, and you could get multiple rows of those. So just to reduce clutter and make it easier to manage reminders, we've consolidated those into a single window. Let's take a look at these enhancements. The first one I'll show you is the one that peeked its way into our presentation a moment ago. This is the single reminder window. So in this case, I have 3 reminders that have come up, and from this window, I can select all 3 of them and dismiss, or I can work with them, and I could either dismiss or snooze, or I could work with them individually to dismiss or snooze an item. Let's say I didn't want to deal with these right now. I could snooze, or what we find when we go out and look at customers and their use of reminders is that some of them use reminders as a task list. And we've made that easy to do by allowing this window to be minimized, and it will sit down on the taskbar, or it can be closed and then opened again at any time from within the Outlook shell from View Reminders window. Let's put that down and go on. So another enhancement that we've made, overall enhancement to Outlook, is we've added to the preview pane the capability to take action on items. So in the case of meeting requests, it's possible right from the preview pane to accept or decline. These are things that previously needed to be done by opening the item. Another capability here from the preview pane is the ability to click on someone's name and have the address book pop up immediately, which can be very convenient if I want to give someone a quick call as I'm looking at their mail message. So I mentioned a feature that makes it easier to propose alternative times for meetings, and that feature we call our Propose New Time feature. You can see it here from the preview pane, the new button, Propose New Time. Let's take a look at a case where someone sends a meeting request to me and that time doesn't work. So here's a meeting request. Oh, I'm actually looking at it late. I got to this late and the meeting is already over. So I'll propose an updated time for it. By choosing Propose New Time, I come immediately to the Meeting Planner window, where I can scroll, select a time, and then hit Propose to send off the new request to the other meeting attendee. That works great in the case of a meeting between 2 individuals. Let's take a look at what happens when I invite multiple people and I get multiple proposals back. So that's the case with these 2 bottom items. So I created a meeting and sent it out to several people, and 2 of those people responded back. I can open up either one of those items, and from either one, I'll have the option to either accept that specific proposal that I'm looking at, or to view all proposals. When I choose to view all proposals, I come to a window that shows all of the proposals together, lets me see information about how many conflicts there are with each of the proposed times, and I can choose one of those. So in this case, I'll pick the one that has the least conflicts and then send an update, and that will send the updated time to everyone who was on the original meeting. Another calendar feature that we've added is the ability to color appointments. The typical scenario for coloring appointments is for someone who wants to, at a glance, get information about how they're spending their time. So let's say that I'm an executive and I've made, or a group manager, and I've made a business goal that I'm going to spend a certain amount of my time with customers and another amount of my time working with employees on employee development. Let's say 25% of my time is with customers and 20% is on employee development. Well, I can make it very easy to see that in my calendar using the Calendar Labels feature. That's available from the toolbar as a button. It's also available on the context menu, or from the meeting item. So in my scenario, I want to identify colors to associate with the ways in which I want to spend the categories in which I want to spend my time. None of the default categories are quite what I want, so I'll go ahead and edit labels here. And let's say that I want to make green apply to time that I'm spending with customers. And I want to make blue apply to time that I'm spending with employees. So now that I've set the categories up the way that I want, it's easy for me to choose a label and apply it to an individual item. And that's what I've done here, making this item blue. So that allows me to manually apply color to an item, but for something that I'm doing on a repeated basis, so in my case, I'm always wanting to track time with customers or time with employees, and there's some certain rules that I can apply so that any appointment, in fact, what I'd like to do is set it up so I can put a quick key code into an appointment, and then that will trigger Outlook to apply the automatic coloring to it. A way to do that is to create automatic formatting. Automatic formatting is a feature that Outlook added, I believe, in Outlook 2000, and that is supported for messages in the inbox. And with this release, we've added it for the calendar as well. So I want to create a new rule, and let's make this one be for employee development. And when this rule is fired, then I want this label to be applied to the appointment item, and I'll specify the condition. In my case, what I want to do is be able to type in some text and have Outlook recognize that text and apply the color when it finds that text in the subject line. I could also have a rule that fires based on who organized the meeting or who the attendees of the meeting are, or even things like whether I'll be out of office for that meeting or whether the meeting is an all-day event. Any of those things and more can be used as criteria for specifying colors. So I've created the rule, and now let's watch it work. I'm going to create a new appointment, which is a one-on-one with one of my employees. And as soon as I do that, the item is colored. The last area of calendar enhancements that I want to show is the feature called Group Schedules. That's available from a toolbar button in the calendar mode of Outlook. So when I choose schedules, I can see any group schedule that I've previously created, or I can create a new one. Let's take a look at one that I have set up already. So here's a group schedule. One thing you'll notice is that it looks very much like the current meeting planner in Outlook. And we did that, there was a specific reason that we did that, which is that as we looked at the capability to view multiple people's schedules at one time and the features that you'd want around that, we found that those features were similar to features that you'd want when scheduling any general meeting. So we built off of the meeting planner for group schedule, which gives some of the enhanced features which I'll show you. Those will work for both. So the features of the group schedule are, one is that I can show, you'll notice that there's text displaying on the screen inside of what typically is the free busy item. So if for a group calendar, Outlook automatically defaults to a new view type where we show calendar details. I can turn that off and see only free busy, or I can leave it turned on. And again, this applies to creating meetings as well. I see in this scenario, I'm the user Paul Garner, so I see my own text for my own meetings there, but I also, because another user has given me access to the calendar, I can see text for those meetings as well. So a way that a customer might want, a department might want to set this up is that everyone within a department gives access to each other to their calendars. And then they could easily create a departmental calendar or a team calendar where everyone can see the details of what the other person is doing. Other enhancements are that I can hover over an item to see the details, and that helps where the text that displays is too compact so I can't see everything. It also helps in the case where meetings are double booked, and when I hover over, I'll be able to see the full list of meetings that might occur at the same time. I can zoom in this view, I can zoom in or out. So let's try zooming into week view. There things get very tiny, but again, the hover behavior, I don't have quite enough to, but again, the hover behavior will work even in the small views. Or I can zoom in so that I can see more text inside of the grid. Other things I can do from the group schedule include making a meeting. So from here I can easily create a new meeting with all. Or let's say the scenario is that I create a group schedule that has a list of all the conference rooms that are nearby my office. What I might want to do is pick one of these and create a new meeting using that item, the conference room, as a resource. I can also choose new mail message or new mail message with all. So this can be a workbench where if I am a person who works a lot with people on my team, I can quickly send them messages. Another feature of the group schedule is the ability to directly open the individual user's calendar. So from clicking on the icon, I go to a full calendar view of whichever user or conference room I saw the compact information for in the group schedule. So that covers the set of features that are new in the calendar module of Outlook. An area where we made the largest investment in this release of Outlook is in our integration with the Exchange 2000 server product. And this gives us great enhancements in mobility and also on the server side, scalability, and for basic users, even users who don't have laptops or who don't roam, it gives them better reliability when the server goes down. They can keep working. The key focus point of our Exchange 2000 integration is the local web storage system. That is a piece of code that ships with Outlook. It was developed by the Exchange team, and it ships with Outlook. And it's, in fact, a scaled-down version of the Exchange store, so that you've got a local version of the Exchange store running. A benefit of that is that it gives us very high reliability with the Exchange server. I'll talk more about that in a minute. So it improves offline. It also reduces the server dependency. So if the server goes down, again, users can keep working. The local web store provides a runtime environment for web storage system applications. I'll discuss that more later. We also have added support for viewing multiple public folder hierarchies inside of Outlook. And we've made some enhancements to our global catalog support. So with Outlook 2000, we now support local global catalogs, which gives the network administrator the ability to centralize Exchange servers out of remote locations, but still leave a global catalog sitting in that remote location. And when Outlook boots, it will check to see if there's a registry key sitting on the system that tells it the location of a local global catalog, and if that's present, it uses the one in the remote location. Otherwise, it goes to the Exchange server and asks for its reference to the global catalog. And we've also added better failover enhancements for working with the global catalog, so that if a GC goes down, Outlook can switch over and begin using another GC. Outlook will recognize that it's trying to talk with a GC and it's not available, and it will go get a new referral from the Exchange server and establish a connection with the new global catalog. Let's talk more about the local web storage system. Here's a very high-level overview. So if you can imagine that the area where I'm tracing now with my mouse is the user's machine. And on the user's machine is Outlook and the local store, where the local storage system is comprised of some data files and a replication manager. The replication manager is the piece that knows to talk with Exchange to go get access to new messages, or it's also listening to Exchange so that Exchange can feed information down to it as needed. So what happens is from Outlook, when a user goes to a folder or opens a message, Outlook is actually communicating with the local store. And if the local store has the message or has the headers of the items in that folder, it will hand those back to Outlook without ever going to Exchange. But if I am, for example, switching to a new folder that I haven't visited yet, then Outlook will send a message to the local store. The local store will go get the information it needs from Exchange, and then it will bring it down and cache it in the local store, so that the next time I go to get that information, it will be there sitting on my disk. Let's talk about some benefits of our new web storage system architecture. For slow link users, what this allows is that items will be downloaded only once. And it's helpful if I compare this to our Outlook 2000 behavior. In Outlook 2000, when I'm on a dial-link connection, if I open an item, and let's assume it's a 2 megabyte item, that item will get downloaded and I'll look at it. When I close that item, and then if I try to reopen it again, the item will get downloaded from the server completely a second time. In the new architecture, it's only downloaded once, and the second time I get it immediately from the disk. Another enhancement that we've made is that we upload only changed properties. So let's imagine that I have a meeting request that contains a 2 megabyte attachment, and a reminder fires on that meeting request. Well, the meeting request and the attachment in Outlook 2000, as soon as I dismiss the reminder, the entire item, including the attachment, is sent back up to the server, even though it's only a single property that I changed. And in Outlook 10, just the changed property is sent back to the server. We've also made our open operations asynchronous. So again, in the case of that 2 megabyte attachment, when I try to open it and I'm blocked for a while because it takes a while to get that much information down the line, I can switch away from that task. I'll get a progress dialog that in fact will let me cancel from it if I choose, or I can just let it keep downloading and I can switch away and open other messages or compose messages, do other work inside of Outlook. And the last area where we've made changes is in progress reporting. We provide much more granular progress information than in the past. In the case of the large message, in fact, we didn't used to provide any progress information. You might have thought that Outlook was hung. And now we'll show you a progress dialog that indicates that something's coming down. And when you synchronize, we'll give you much more information, including the folders that are being synchronized and what the status of the synchronization is for each one of those. For roaming users, it's much easier now to simply unplug and go. I can set Outlook up so that it's doing some aggressive caching, bringing information especially from my contacts and calendar and inbox and other locations that I access on a regular basis. I can have those cached on a timed basis into the local store so that at any time I can just unplug from the network, take off, and know that the information I need is there with me. Another enhancement over the past, with the old OST architecture, if I happen to be trying to sync my information locally and something happened, like the phone connection went down, I would have to, the next time I connected, resync the entire thing. So if I got halfway through the synchronization and maybe it was a long one, it was going to take me an hour, I'd have to start again at the beginning. And now with the local store, there's no need to resync or cancel the information that's been, there's no need to resync information. Once it's brought down, it's there in the local store, and I could, if a synchronization operation was canceled, I could just go back, start it again, and pick up where it left off. There are also benefits for desktop users. Users can keep working when the server goes down, and there's no more, again, it's useful to compare this to Outlook 2000. When the server goes down, if I tried to switch to a different folder, Outlook would try talking to the server for 60 minutes by default, and then it would come back with an error that said the server wasn't available. Now what will happen is the user will be able to switch the folder. If the server goes down, they can still switch the folder and they can still look at any items that had already been downloaded. And only when they tried to open up an item that hadn't been previously downloaded would they get an error that says that information is not available. They can also continue to compose new mail messages, and as soon as the server comes back up, Outlook will automatically send those messages. For Exchange administrators, the local store reduces server load. There's many fewer times that Outlook needs to talk directly to the server. It can gather what it needs from the local store. There's less data over the wire. And the final thing is that because the local store communicates to the Exchange server using HTTP DAV protocol, server administrators get some of the scalability benefits of the WebDAV or the server farm configuration and other new server configurations that are available. Let's talk about application support. With Outlook 2000 and Exchange SP1, one thing I should mention is that the local web store does require Exchange SP1 on the server. And the time frame for Exchange SP1 is roughly the first quarter of 2001. So with the local store supports a new symmetric application environment. So built into the local store is the support for CDO, for ASP, for a local runtime version of ASP, and for web forms. And those implementations are consistent across the client and the server. This is one of the benefits of using a scaled-down version of the Exchange server on the local machine. All of those interfaces and behaviors are consistent. Users can sync applications to the local web store, and those applications will run offline in the same way that mail messages are available offline. And because there's ASP support and CDO support in the local store, all of the scripting will also occur when the user is offline. We also have made some applications that run in web store applications that run in Outlook can also take advantage of the Outlook view control. And what that provides is the capability to add columns, change the size of columns, and some nice capabilities such as the ability to do automatic formatting on views. We've also added some new object model in Outlook. We've added support object model around views, reminders, and even we've added some new events. Web applications, some of the advantages of web applications or the new types of applications that can be built using the web storage system on the server and the local web store on the client, is that those can be built once and run anywhere. The web applications have support for rich and reach versions. So when running in Outlook, the applications automatically use the Outlook view control. When running in IE5, they use the smart DHTML behaviors. And when running in any HTML 3.2 compatible browser, such as IE3, IE for the Macintosh, and Netscape, the application also appears, and it appears as a basic table. The data, the contents of the application appear in basic table format. New to this release of Office 10 is a product codenamed Office Designer. The final naming for that is not out yet. And it's targeted toward the web storage system. So the interface of the Office Designer allows users to pick just those methods and properties and forms that work well with the web storage system. The focus of Office Designer is on ease of use and end-to-end application development. The target market is power users, but it can also be used by Visual Studio developers as a starting point, and then the application can be upscaled to Visual Studio. Let's take a look at offline with Outlook and the local store. So I'm back into a mailbox, and the thing that's interesting to show you here is exactly what the experience is when the network goes down. And the way that I'll do that is by taking out my network card. We'll stop it. So we'll do it the brute force way then. Okay, so it's out. And we can tell that it's out because the message appears down below that says the network is down. So now with no network connectivity, let's see what the experience is. I'm looking at the inbox, and I can open an item that I've opened before. And I can also switch to my calendar. And you can see that the switch there is immediate, and the same with contacts. And I can choose to create a new message. and I'm able to continue working. Now the error here is about Hotmail. If you remember, when I tried to set that up earlier, it was still trying to communicate to it. Okay, so this is all offline. It's a very seamless experience. In fact, it's not clear that the server went down at all. I can just keep working. Let's go ahead and put the card back in. And I'll show you how. So I mentioned that there are cases where for someone who is mobile, they'll want to do a more aggressive caching. The caching behavior that Outlook has by default is that once a user switches to a folder, all of the headers for the items in that folder are cached. And the headers contain the subject, the sender, the date, the time, all the basic information to allow items to display in the view. And then once items are opened, the bodies of the items are brought down and cached. And then for items that contain attachments, once the attachment is opened, it's brought down and cached. And that's a sufficient level of caching for someone who's mainly working at their desktop and who has high server reliability. For someone who goes on the road, they'll want to set it up so that the caching is done more aggressively. This is the dialog where I can control my caching settings. So I have a default group already set up, which is all of my accounts. By default, when I choose send receive, these things are synchronized, but Outlook doesn't do an automatic send receive of information. So I'll set it up to do that. And then I'll also tell Outlook to automatically do a send receive when exiting. I can specify synchronization behavior for when I'm online and also for when I'm offline. So the scenario might be that I'm working away from home. Let's say I'm working in a hotel room and I have dial-up access set up for Outlook. I can be working offline, and then I can schedule to have Outlook automatically dial in every 30 minutes and retrieve the new information that's available. Let's go in, now what I'd like to do is go in and specify which folders I'd like to have brought down when I do a synchronization. And by default I want my calendar, contacts, my inbox, also drafts. And there might be some public folders that I work with. That I'd want to bring down as well. Oh, speaking of bringing down, I think we just brought Outlook down again. So we'll pick that up one more time. Back to Tools, Send Receive Settings, where I'm defining my groups. I can even specify, you'll notice here right now we're looking at Hotmail. I can even schedule synchronization with Hotmail using this same Send Receive Settings dialog. And when I've done that, I'll be able to view Hotmail information while I'm offline. Since this is slow and I've got more that I want to talk with you about today, I think we'll skip back out of here again. The last thing that I would have shown you from here is choosing the Send Receive button from the toolbar in Outlook. And when I do that, I would see a dialog that comes up that tells me for each of those folders that I specified what the synchronization progress is on them. And I can also cancel from there if I'm in the middle of a long sync and I don't have time to do it right then. Another area where Outlook has done a good amount of work is in the area of virus security. So email viruses are one of the top concerns of certainly of our corporate accounts, but also of individuals. Many billions of dollars have been spent over the last year combating email viruses, and that's either in lost productivity or in lost data from corporations. Email viruses spread as attachments. They leverage programmatic interfaces in applications such as Outlook to self-replicate. And in particular, some of the activities that they complete are to gather email addresses and to silently send email. Virus writers seek ubiquitous environments for their viruses, and that makes Outlook a primary target for viruses because it is a successful product and has a large percentage in the marketplace, and it also has the programmatic interfaces. So as we looked at how to address the needs of prevention against viruses, we identified some near-term requirements and long-term requirements. In the near term, we needed to provide, our customers requested from us the virus security protection that works on existing platforms 9x and above. We also needed to focus on the 90% case, the most common ways that viruses attack applications today. And we looked at preventing both the execution of viruses, the ability to launch the program, and the propagation, the means of using Outlook to gather email addresses and then to be able to self-replicate themselves by sending themselves. Our long-term requirements for virus prevention are, the thing I should say is that our customers requested a near-term response from us, and that's the work that we've done in the Outlook 98, 2000, and Outlook 10 product. We also, the things that we can do just in the Outlook product aren't a complete solution against viruses, and for that reason we recognize that there are longer-term requirements for security against viruses. The long-term requirements is that the security is platform-driven, so that we get ubiquitous and complete coverage. Also, there needs a better solution. A good solution is smart about what types of applications are trying to run, whether they be trusted applications or untrusted or unknown applications. In the ideal world, trusted applications should be able to run freely, untrusted applications shouldn't run at all, and unknown applications, perhaps they should run, but if they did, then certain dangerous things that they might do should be sandboxed, so that, for example, the user's hard disk can't be erased, or in the case of email viruses, so that the applications can't send or forward information. So the time frame for a longer-term solution, a more complete and robust solution, is post-Outlook 10. But it is something that we're looking at, and not just the Outlook team is looking at this. In fact, we're working closely with the Whistler team and the the solution that we need is really built into the operating system. So for the near-term solution, there are some components. We've done in the Outlook Virus Security Update and also baked into the Outlook 2002 product, we've added support for attachment blocking for executable type attachments. Not all attachments, but the types that can carry bad code, like .exe, .reg, .vbs. VBS is the file format that was used in the Lovebug virus. We've also added support for blocking object model call, for guarding, not blocking, but guarding object model calls so that the user is notified if an application is trying to get at the address book or trying to send itself. And we've provided support for administrators to override some of the default settings, the default virus security settings in Outlook. As I mentioned, the virus security solution is built into the Outlook 2002 product. It's available in the base product. And for Outlook 2000 SP1 and 98, there's an update available from Office Update at Microsoft.com. So I mentioned that Outlook 10 by default blocks executable attachments. So there are roughly 39 file types that are considered executable, and a list of those file types is available in a white paper that's also available on officeupdate.microsoft.com. When a user tries to send one of those file types, Outlook puts a warning up that indicates that the recipient of that file type may not be able to access it. When reading messages with attachments of these types, Outlook blocks access to them both by the user and programmatically. And here are some visuals of what those warnings look like. The top one is the alert that comes up when a user is trying to send one of the executable file types. And the bottom one is what appears to the user in the tooltip when there is an executable file type in the mail message. Before I move off of that, let me mention that, again, when I discussed that executable file types are blocked by default, non-executable file types, for example, JPEG images, GIF images, Word documents, PowerPoint, Excel, all of those, there's no change in the behavior. Users can access those the same as they could in the past. Another area where we've provided virus security is in object model guards. And as I mentioned, this protects programmatic access to address book data, to recipient data on items. It also protects against the programmatic sending of mail. But one thing it doesn't block is doesn't prompt on is the creation of new email where the user sends. So for example, hyperlinks can be created with the mail to item in them, and by clicking on the mail to item, as a dialog comes up, but it requires me to actually press the send. And for any applications that do that bring up a send note and then the user sends, there are no prompts that will appear. The default settings prompt the user for each email that's sent, but for other prompts for access to address book, there's timed access allowed to those. So let's take a look at what the dialogues look like. The top dialog, the dialog in the upper left-hand side, is one that appears when there's an application that's trying to look at email addresses. So what this might be is an application that's trying to synchronize between Outlook and another application. For example, early versions of the Palm synchronization with Outlook, the Pocket Mirror product, this prompt would appear when contacts were being synchronized and there was email address information in the contact. So in the case of contact synchronization, there might be I might have many contacts that I'm trying to synchronize all at once. And in that scenario, I would choose to to allow access for a certain timed period of time. So I might say for 1 minute or for 5 minutes, the amount of time that I would expect that application to be running. The dialog in the lower left-hand side is what appears when an application is trying to programmatically send email. One thing I'll note is that on the synchronization side, the Palm product and the Microsoft Pocket PC product, the ActiveSync, have both come out with later versions of their synchronization products that don't run into the prompts. And we encourage our users to update to those to avoid the inconvenience of prompts. We've built in some administrator override capability to the Outlook default behavior. This requires an email server with a secure location for settings. From the administrator control panel, which is a public folder, which is a form in a public folder, administrators can control the safeguards, the virus safeguards, individually, meaning they can control just the attachment blocking behavior, and the attachment blocking behavior they could control by attachment type, or they could control some of the object model guards, either to increase the security over those, say specifically they can disallow some of those programmatic calls from running at all. So if an application is trying to send email silently, they can just disallow that from happening. Then the user won't get the prompt. Another thing that administrators can control is they can provide a list of COM add-ins that are trusted for their organization. And once they specify those applications that are trusted, a hash of that COM add-in is on the server, and then when that COM add-in attempts to run on the client, a comparison is done between the hashes, and if the add-in matches, then it's allowed to run freely. So that will work whether a COM add-in has been signed or not. It works for all COM add-ins. Let's go on, and I'll mention Outlook support for enhancements in the area of international. Before I do that, there is another session that talks more about virus security in detail, and that will be going on later today at 1 o'clock. And that will talk about Outlook virus security, plus what Exchange is doing on the server, and some more detail about what's going on in the Whistler timeframe. For international, Outlook made investments in this release to support Unicode throughout. So the new infrastructure, especially the local store and Exchange 2000, now support Unicode stores, transports, and address books. Outlook continues to support legacy ANSI stores and transports, and also legacy ANSI address books. So an ANSI store would be a MAPI store, or PST or OST, and the new Unicode stores in particular is the local web storage system. Outlook also supports reading, rendering, and editing of Unicode characters in the body of items. One last thing that I'll mention, this is not tied into the Outlook 10 product, but it's an effort that's going on in parallel to Outlook 10. And that is our next release of the Outlook for Macintosh product, which is codenamed Watson. This product has full Outlook format interoperability, including Mail, which we've had previously, but it adds support for calendar, contacts, tasks, and notes. It supports cross-platform sharing. So now from the Watson product, you'll be able to see information inside of public folders. You'll be able to serve as a delegate access. So there could be a case where an executive is using a Mac and an administrator is using a Windows application, or vice versa, and the delegate scenarios are supported. The administrator administrative assistant would be able to have access to the user's calendar even if it's on a Macintosh, even if the user's client is a Macintosh client. We have support for a brand new Mac interface, which is easy one-window navigation. The calendaring support was previously done using Schedule Plus, and now the Schedule Plus product is completely unnecessary with Outlook. In fact, with this new version, we won't support using Schedule Plus along with the Outlook product. And the calendaring information will be built into it in the same way that the Windows product is. It basically will work just the way that our users have expected and wanted it to work. We don't have a release date for that yet. It will be sometime in the upcoming calendar year. And here are a couple of screenshots. This shows the new Mac-like user interface where the common Mac features are available. The tree view with disclosure triangles, the shaded view inside of the table view for this column that is sorted. And we even support matching up the Outlook for Macintosh color scheme with the color scheme of common Apple Macintosh computers. Say, for example, lavender and lime and orange. Users can set their color scheme in Outlook to match. And here's an example of the calendar appearing in frame inside of Outlook for Macintosh. So that covers the bulk of my presentation today. There are a couple of things, since this is going to members of the field, there are a couple of things to mention. As I mentioned earlier, the local store does require Exchange SP1. Because the local web store is a scaled back version of the full-featured Exchange server, it takes advantage of some of the newest features both of the operating system, and it does have a higher memory requirement, so that some older hardware configurations may not be well suited to run the local store. And the performance is an area that we're still working on with the product. It is our key focus from now until ship, and we're confident that we'll have performance up. But I note this because if some of you are using the beta, that may be something that you notice. And it's something that we're working on. So I have listed here some resources. There's a security white paper on the Office Update site. And the Beta 2 product is out and available now. It's available to all Microsoft employees from the product's beta SharePoints. And I definitely encourage you to install it and give it a try. And that covers the session of Outlook. So Outlook 10 is a product, again, to reiterate, that addresses most of our top product support requests. It answers many of our top customer wishes, and with the Exchange 2000 tight integration, it makes it much easier for users to roam and have greater mobility. Thank you very much. I think there might be questions now.
There are just a couple.
Okay.
And you may have answered them, but I'm just going to ask them anyway, and you can just kind of reiterate them.
Okay.
Are there any gotchas if you roam between Outlook 2000 and Outlook 10, especially during the beta?
Are there any gotchas if you roam between Outlook 2000 and Outlook 10, and especially during the beta? There aren't any that I am familiar with off the top of my head. There are people, certainly inside of our development organization, we're doing that right now, where as we're working on the new product, if something's not working correctly, we'll switch back to the Outlook 2000 version of the product and try it there, make sure things are working correctly. So there are people who are in that scenario all the time, and it's not something that I'm aware of issues with.
Okay. What happens if there's no space on the hard disk? Talking about the local web storage system, will it give you an error?
Right. So the local web storage system has a smart caching behavior, and when when their space isn't available on the hard disk, the local web store will take as much as reasonable for it. And I don't know the specific parameters about that, but for people with more questions, we can get answers to that. But the basic behavior is that it'll take as much space as available, and once it can't take any more space, then it starts to drop items out of the cache based on a first in, first out basis. So that your most current information is still available and other things drop out.
Okay. Does the local store also work with Exchange 5.5?
So the question is, does the local store work with Exchange 5.5? And it does not. It requires Exchange 2000 SP1.
Okay. And then just talking about this code-based security and the notion of trust, isn't that fully supported by like the .NET framework? He mentions that it's supposed to come as a first preview with Whistler. You know anything
Yes.
about
So Whistler is the product that supports the trusted code and sandboxing the operating system.
Okay, and last question. In the case of a local store, do I have to open every message to cache it locally so that I can use it offline?
Okay, so that was the scenario that we started to talk through, where if you want things to be cached offline, so you want to do aggressive caching, then you go into the Tools Send Receive Settings dialog, mark those folders that you want to be cached, and all of the data will be brought down. So the default behavior is, yes, exactly what was described, which is that when you open an item, it gets cached. So if you made no changes in the Send Receive Settings dialog, yeah, you'd have to open each item and then it would be available. But for people who want it all there, just go set up the settings and everything you want will be available.
Yeah, I believe that's it.
That's it?
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.